Well, hi again, folks. I'm Greg Flynn, the Public Information Director here for the City of Pearl, and welcome into This Week in Pearl. We're continuing some campaign coverage as we've got a big primary election coming up on Tuesday, August the 8th. Joining us right now is one of those folks that really enjoys public service, and that is Staci McNinch. She is on the ballot for Tax Assessor for Rankin County. Staci, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, Greg.
Has it been tough, this whole campaign trail? I know everybody you're coming down to the end and everybody's kind of looking a little drained.
Yeah, we are. I think you can kind of look around the room and realize that we have reached the very near end to this long process. But, you know, my husband and my family and I really enjoy being out in the community. It's something we've done, we've been garnering these relationships for more than 20 years, just being out in the community and serving. And so this is not necessarily anything new to us being out there. We feel like we're always there. We're always filling our schedule with some kind of service. So we've enjoyed it. Our children have enjoyed it. And recently we were driving, to just a south part of Rankin County. And one of my children said, "Mom, I've really enjoyed learning all that we've learned about the state of Mississippi." So they think we've been going all over the state.
Well, Rankin County is pretty big.
It is pretty big.
The small kids, they think that that's the end all and be all.
Yeah.
When you have to get outside.
Right.
Well, what is it that appeals to you about Tax Assessor? Because it's a little bit different. So, for folks at home, you don't collect the money,
Correct.
but you assign, because you don't dictate. You tell them how much they owe, right?
That's exactly right. So currently I do serve Rankin County as Chief Deputy Tax Collector. And so I am on that collection side right now. On the assessor side, you're exactly correct. That is simply, I say simply, it's a really complex process, but you are literally telling them you're assigning a value and assessing the amount of tax liability that they will have due on their properties, personal property, real property. So all of the properties that citizens of Rankin County have, we're going to tell them how much that the tax collector will be collecting. Now,
what is it that the county assesses taxes on? What are the things? We certainly know homes.
Yes.
Right. So we know your land value.
That's right.
What are some other things that?
So raw land, your home, businesses, business inventory. My husband is a business owner, and so we're assessed from that standpoint. So yeah, any real property, personal property, any kind of property.
Okay. But then so what makes you want to go from collector to assessor?
So our current assessor is retiring at the end of this year. And I went to work for the tax collector a couple of years ago. And once I came into the tax collector's office, these offices work so closely together and there's so much overlap within those offices. Matter of fact, in most parts of our state, in a lot of counties, that's the same person. The tax assessor and the tax collector are actually the same person. And so once I came to work there and knew that the current tax assessor would be retiring, I recognized that there was a need in that office for, a different type of leadership. And so that is really where my heart's desire is to lead people and to help the public. My father is a retired state trooper. My mother was a county employee for 30 years. And so I really grew up around, in this world. My mother was comptroller down in Harrison County. And so she actually ran for chancery clerk in Harrison County in 1995. So, the whole world of county government and politics is nothing that's not new in my life. But my real heart's desire is just being a public servant. They instilled in me early on the importance of serving, those around you. And so that's something that I've carried into adulthood. And we've really tried to stress that as well to our children.
That's one of the things that I get that impression that to be a public servant, you can certainly make a whole lot more money in the private sector, but there's just something about it has to be in you to want to serve because you don't make as much money, but it's just helping other people.
That's right. And, people don't realize that, you think it's an 8 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job, but it's not. And especially in today's world, we're so accessible. People can, call you on your cell phone at any hour of the night. Day or night, weekend, holidays, if they've got a question, they want it answered right there and right then. And so it really is just a round the clock job. And so you have to have, it has to be deeply rooted in who you are to be able to be a public servant.
Well, and I noticed too, for your tax collector side and then also for the assessment, these are exciting times for Rankin County. I mean, we're growing so fast that everything's got to kind of be, all right, we got to keep it in check. We got to make sure all the numbers are right because we're just booming so quickly.
We really are. Matter of fact, you may have seen the article recently in Rankin County News, but Rankin County as a whole, our total assessed value is over $2 billion now. So we are growing. I mean, just tremendous growth right now is what we're seeing in our county. So it is an exciting time.
Well, one of the things that I've explained to people over the years is, when you get how much your taxes are on your house, right? So the assessed value is not necessarily what your house is really worth, because it's one of those things where, well, when I pay my taxes, I want it to not be assessed very high. But then when I sell it, I want it to be really, really, right?
Right. That's exactly right. And I hear that so much, when we're out campaigning, people want to know, are you going to lower my taxes? Well, it'd be great if I had that power, just to overall lower everybody's taxes. But what I often tell them is exactly what you're saying. We do want a lower assessed value on our home or property when we're assigning a tax liability to it. But then when we turn around and sell it, we do want that value to be up. And so it's a double-edged sword. And in Rankin County, we really have a low millage rate overall in the county. But it's our home values that are an increase, at an increased value. And so that we have great schools, all of that goes to our roads, our schools. I mean, Rankin County is so strong and so great. And I often, kind of compare it to other counties in the state that you may see their home values are a lot lower, but their millage rates are really high. And, that kind of, it works out and equals out for them, but they may not have schools as good as we have or roads or things like that. The assessor's office uses a mass appraisal system to do the appraisal of the properties. When you're getting a mortgage loan or something from a bank, they do what's called a fee-based appraisal. And so those two things are completely different.
Well, it is it's a tall task, because not only for tax collection, because the school districts and the cities rely on getting that to do those big projects, but then having them assessed at the proper rate as well, so that people know exactly what they're going to have to pay. That's a daunting task, is it not?
It is. And, we're thankful to have a lot of oversight and governance from the state on that, as well as other organizations, appraisal organizations that kind of keep a finger on the trigger and make sure that we're doing all of that fairly and accurately.
Well, and just so folks out there know, you have a pretty good anchor to Pearl.
I do.
You have a great relationship to Pearl. Why don't you tell us about that?
I do. So my husband, Jeremy, grew up in Pearl, and his mother was actually an educator in the Pearl school system for 38 years, Armagay Jones. Some people may know her as Mrs. McNinch, but also his grandfather, Cecil Jones, built over 200 houses in the city of Pearl. And Jeremy and I married on February 10th, and on March 1st, we became residents of Pearl. So Pearl is the first place that we lived as a married couple. So we call it, we still call it the old hometown. Our kids love to come right around Pearl. I think I mentioned earlier before we got started that just last night, our boys who are 11 and 10 wanted to go right around Pearl with Daddy, because they love to hear about, he can point out different places that he may or may not have been making trouble at. And so they just really enjoy that connection, and learning about where and how he grew up. So,
well, everybody likes to talk about the rivalries here in Rankin County, but when it's all said and done, I think all of our cities complement each other, do they not?
Absolutely, they do. Another thing I've learned on the campaign trail is it depends on the audience when I tell them that I do have deep ties to Pearl.
You don't want to use that over in the East too much, right?
Exactly. So that's been interesting, and I kind of have to tiptoe around that sometimes. But it's an interesting, but it's fun. And in today's world, it's interesting to see that the kids from the different cities, the Pearl kids go to prom with the Brandon kids, or the Northwest Rankin, or the Richland, or Florence. And so it's just so interchangeable now. And I think when we were growing up, we didn't necessarily see that as much. But so it really is now. You've always had your community within a community, but now it's like our community is just really, and I think, social media and access to the internet and all the things has really helped bring that to be.
Well, when you talk about the big economic boom, I mean, again, what's good for Brandon what's good for Flowood is good for Pearl. So as they succeed, Pearl succeeds because everybody has to drive through and, they find their own niches. And that's why you see us booming so much in the state of Mississippi.
That's right. And I feel like within Rankin County, we have such strong partnerships between all the municipalities, and so you're exactly right. They rely on one another for each of their successes. And so we're really lucky to have that in Rankin County.
So the tax assessor in downtown Brandon, right? So that's where the setup would be. Well, I just think it's fascinating that you want to stay within the tax system, because most people are like, who wants to grow up and be the tax collector, the tax assessor? I mean, it was
certainly not my childhood dream.
Exactly right. So, but it's just something that grew into you?
Well, so my background is banking and finance. And so, being on the lending side, you kind of, you get to know these things. When you're making a loan for a new home or a piece of property, you begin to appreciate and learn. And so that it is really in my background. And also I work for the Mississippi Development Authority. So I have some economic development background as well. And so all of those things combined, really is a perfect combination for assessing taxes, and working in that property spectrum.
Well, it's going to be a long days, I'm sure, as you fight to the finish here for next Tuesday.
It is, but we're thankful for mornings like this that we can just sit down and, just have little chats with people that mean so much to us. Pearl means a lot to us. I tell people, we were here over at the community room this past weekend, and I was telling somebody that I feel like when you marry somebody from Pearl, you marry the city of Pearl, and that most roads lead through Pearl. We can be in the south part of the county and meet someone and find out that, they were a pastor under McLaurin Heights, Steve Jackson, who used to be at McLaurin Heights, who we just love and respect so much. And so it's just, all roads lead through Pearl, we feel like.
Well, Brandon may be the county seat, but, Pearl, we still love to say we're the biggest city in Rankin County.
True, yeah.
And we're going to try and turn the air down a little bit for you as you hit the streets. I don't know how these candidates are doing it. Yeah. This summer has been so hot, and now here this last week, it's going to be 100 every single day. That is going to be tough to hit the pavement.
It really is. And, we have been out knocking on doors every day for, I guess now we're going on, oh my goodness, I've lost count. It's like the 5th or 6th week, and my husband and I have been out there door to door, and it is some kind of hot. You think you're going to do it in the evening, you're going to find a cooler spot, cooler time in the evening, but there is really, I get in my car at 5:30 in the evening and it's 100, still showing 103, So there's really no good time, and people don't want us to disturb them in the middle of the night. So we just do what we can, sweat it out and just know that it's all for a good cause. The people of Rankin County are worth it.
Excellent. Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck, Staci.
Thank you.
As you guys are looking on that primary ballot, it is Staci McNinch going for Rankin County Tax Assessor. So for you to find your polls, go to cityofpearl.com because they're different. This isn't municipal election, so you won't go to your municipal city polling places. This is for the county and the state elections, which are run by the county. So make sure you check your voter registration card because we don't want people showing up at the wrong place on election day.
That's right. And, there have been some precinct changes, so you'll also want to check out the circuit clerk's website for any of those precinct changes.
All right. Well, again, we make it easy on you. Head to cityofpearl.com. We'll keep you up to date and let you know exactly where you need to go vote. It is Tuesday, August the 8th. Make plans to go out 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. These folks are working way too hard. It is our honor to be able to vote and our right to be able to vote. So please exercise that on Tuesday. I'm Greg Flynn. We'll talk to you again soon.